Court in Johannesburg granting President Cyril Ramaphosa's interdict against his predecessor's bid to privately prosecute him. This is, however, pending the hearing into Part B of the court matter, which is seeking to have the 15th of December summons by the former President Jacob Zuma dismissed. Zuma is accusing Ramaphosa of being an accessory after the fact for failing to take action against prosecutor Billy Downer. However, Ramaphosa argues that Zuma's private prosecution is an abuse of court processes and should be stopped altogether. Legally, what does this all mean, especially in light of this judgment? We're joined by legal expert, Professor Tameshnie Deane. Thank you very much, Prof, for availing yourself this afternoon. Maybe initial reaction, did this come as a surprise to you?
Thank you so much, Dudu. Good afternoon to you and good afternoon to all the viewers. I have to admit that there were, pending the outcome of this decision, there was a lot of emotions in the media. As you know, this case has impacted people on different levels. And I think that I'm just going to now just keep the emotion out of it. What I want to do is I want to just think it's important for us to understand the outcome of this judgment. We actually just have to look at the basis for this application. If you'll grant me a few minutes. Now, the interim and interdict this morning, it was sought to prevent further prosecution, as you rightly said, including the requirement for Cyril Ramaphosa to appear before a criminal court on the 19th of January, which is in a few days' time. Now, the respondent, Jacob Zuma and his team, they allege that the applicant is guilty, as you said, as an accessory after the fact to a crime that was committed by Advocate Downer and to an alleged crime, by Advocate Downer and the journalist, Ms. Moore. Now, the other charge, or the criminal charge alleged, is that the applicant in this matter, which is Cyril Ramaphosa, actually obstructed the course of justice by facilitating them in evading justice, in that he either acted or he omitted to act in bringing them to justice. So that is the principal application or principal case that is primary prosecution pending before a criminal court. Now, that is important in light of what the judge eventually decided on at the end of this case. These two alleged perpetrators, the Downey and Mon, they have alleged to have contravened Section 41(6) of the NPA by publishing the confidential information relating to respondents' medical history. Now, we all know that the argument was that it was in the public domain, etc., and that is a matter, as I said, that is still pending, and they have been charged, but their trial is not yet begun. Now, the respondent in this matter says that the omission of the commission to act actually has injured. He has brought a case in the sense because he said that it injured the dignity, the privacy, and the bodily integrity of the respondent in this matter. Now, the matter before this court today was whether a case was actually being made out to interdict the further proceedings of the applicant as in the envisaged private prosecution, pending a decision to be set down in due course in the primary matter that is going to be decided upon or pending. Now, in reaching a decision, and I do understand you will be getting a lot of emotions based from a lot of different parties, and as you have seen going forward from previous months. So I think it's very important for us to look at the court's decision, the basis for which the court reached its decision, in order for us to understand the outcome of the judgment. Now,
Prof,
the court looked
Prof, I do beg your pardon. I am just getting a note on time. So perhaps let's get into some of the principal arguments, because the President raised several grounds of urgency, right? And one of those arguments, like you said, is that to submit to an unlawful summons would be a violation of his right to freedom, something which the former President's legal team said, in fact, it will bring no harm to him being the President. So how to understand this with what the legal team of the former President had argued, in understanding how the justices came to the conclusion to actually agree with the argument that was made by the sitting President's legal team?
Okay. On the basis of urgency, which is one of the elements of the urgent application, it was decided by the court that to submit to the summons is actually a violation of Cyril Ramaphosa's rights to freedom, because it is an unlawful person issued by it was being issued by an unlawful person who does not have the right to prosecute privately. This then takes us back to the issue of the nolle prosequi, the non-prosecution certificate. And then, so the judge found that there was an urgent application, and this was based on the harm that was going to be submitted. The legal team for the respondents argued that there was no harm, but the judge itself said that in fact there was a harm. There is going to be a harm because the constitutional right to freedom, taking into account the history of our country, is something that the courts must unreservedly protect. So on that basis, they said that there is a potential harm, that there was an urgency, and they also looked at the certificate, and that has been the basis of a lot of issues going forward in the past. The issue of the certificate, he said, still has to be decided in the next part B of the private prosecution.
What can we expect from part B of the prosecution? Because also, please go ahead.
Okay, thanks, Judu. You must remember this application when we looked at whether there was an viable alternative, whether there was a harm, whether there was an urgency as well, and the balance of convenience. Now, when we're looking at the balance of convenience element in this matter, the court said that the trial of the principal offenders is yet to proceed. So you cannot decide now if somebody is guilty on something that is yet to be decided upon, decided upon. If you look at what we are going to go ahead now, the court decided that Ramaphosa should not be going to court until the outcome of the principal application. Remember, I made mention of the principal application at the beginning. So the outcome of that application means that it will have an impact on whether or not Cyril Ramaphosa will then face private prosecution for the alleged crimes.
We are yet to reach a conclusion on this case, but I do wonder in terms of the far-reaching implications or what law students will be besieged with in the coming years. Will this be a case study that people will pull up where a former president is or has instituted such proceedings against a sitting president?
Okay. That is a very, very interesting question, and you are right. This is a precedent-setting matter. I don't think in the history of prosecutions that anyone has been prosecuted whilst they are in the office. I know there has been one, but that was a perjury matter where the person lied during an investigation of themselves. The decision today, it safeguards organs of states that may be paralyzed by litigation that may damage the broader public interest. So, for example, another issue is the separation of powers that exists between the president and the prosecuting authority. You must remember, had President Ramaphosa insisted on a prosecution, there would be a crossing of the line of that separation of powers. In terms of how it is going to go forward, it doesn't make sense that President Ramaphosa does not have authority over who gets prosecuted and who does not prosecuted. Who does not get prosecuted. His decision is, his role is just to refer the matter to the minister who through him as the national prosecuting authority, who then decides based on a specific set of requirements whether the person or persons, taking into account their affidavits, the dockets, etc., will be subject to a prosecution. Now, what happens there is if they decide this is not a reflection on the applicant in this matter for the moment. In terms of how this will affect the future students, absolutely, law students and the legal fraternity is abuzz with the what will happen, and it's also something new in the sense that can a public person whilst in their position or in their authority be subject to criminal liability for some kind of for an act or omission, and this court says to do so, as I mentioned earlier, it will lead to chaos and it will lead to unnecessary prosecution. And what is important, I think, is also why the judges in this matter led to the decision that the president should not go to court on the 19th is they said that, oh my God, I lost my train of thought for a moment, but they said that President, it cannot be, NPA does, when a prosecution, when the NPA declines to prosecute, it cannot be seen as a delegation to a private individual to conduct a private prosecution. And that is the difference between a private and a public prosecution. And this remains a private prosecution. So that was one of the issues as well. Dudu?
Thank you very much. Professor Tameshnie Deane is a legal expert for availing yourself this afternoon.